And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third episode of the Fitness Uncovered podcast. Today we're going to teach you how to have six-pack abs.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that what everybody wants, is it? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to be talking mostly about nutrition, how to change your body composition, what goes into that, what doesn't, what should and what shouldn't. Starting with, Mr. Andres, you wanted to develop the first topic here for us while I open my Red Bull.
Yeah, let me take this. I'm going to go grab mine, too.
Are you tracking that into your macros? The Red Bull?
No, I'm definitely not.
I actually, somebody yesterday, and actually we both know this person, and I'll talk to you about who it is after. They hit me up yesterday, and they were talking, not yesterday, a few days ago, they were asking me about specifically this topic about, you know, what do I do for my nutrition? Like, how do I keep track of everything? And they were talking about some things that you've told them too, about preparation, about how preparation is key. So we started talking about all of that. And
I'm curious now who it is.
Yeah, I'll tell you. But what I told him was, he asked me also like how important tracking is, like in reference to everything, like if you want to change your body composition. And I told him, like, first of all, I'll let you know this. Like, I'm not tracking myself right now. Having said that, if you want to change your body composition, which we'll touch about, but yeah, it's funny that like somebody literally hit me up and they asked me, they were like, what's your next, because they told me that they've been watching every single episode of the podcast. And they were asking me like, what is your next episode? You guys should talk about nutrition. And I was just
that's timely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we got active listeners. Which
and I think the reason people have a lot of trouble with that is because it's the simplest thing, but it's the hardest thing
to adhere to. Absolutely. And it's so psychological, especially because we have so many cultures
and
too.
Cultural. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's so many cultures that push certain food types and whatnot.
The plan, like you said, really is the simplest plan.
Yep.
Really is. It's just adhering to it.
Exactly.
And managing the challenges and the obstacles that will come with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, to introduce the topic, which is body composition, I think the first thing that we need to talk about is explaining and defining what body composition entails. Because I think a lot of people get stuck on the weight number. Right? So, like, I want to weigh 150 pounds or I want to weigh 180 pounds. And I think that a lot of people think that because they've weighed that number before and they're like, I want to get back to feeling or looking how I was looking when I weighed that number. Or they've looked at somebody that weighs a specific number and they say, I want to weigh that because that's what that looks like. So when we're talking about changing the way that you look, weight is not such a big factor. Body composition is the biggest factor. So what body composition is the ratio of what makes up that weight, right? So if you're 200 pounds or if you're 150 pounds, what is that weight composed of? Is it mostly body fat? Is it mostly muscle? And how much of it is muscle? What percentages is muscle? What percentage body fat? And obviously you have water, bone, you have your organs and all of that stuff too. But mainly the things that we want to talk about when we're trying to change body composition is body fat and skeletal muscle.
Because those are the two variables that we can control the most, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what body composition is. And I think it's a way better measure to take track of whenever you're trying to change the way that you look rather than just looking at the scale and going by that number. You guys agree to that?
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
I think a lot of people are very attached to the scale because that's also usually what professional bodybuilders use when they're going through bulking and cutting phases. So they get advice from those people that are obviously in that level of training and fitness
or also some kind of a sport that has to do with a weight class.
Right.
And so definitely body composition should be what you should be looking for instead of like the body weight, because the body weight can vary on a daily basis very, very easily. And I tell this to my clients all the time. Like, I tell them to track their body weight every single day, but not to see like, I made it, I'm weighing less, I'm weighing more. It's just so you can see that there is going to be differences depending on what time you ate last night. Because let's say you usually finish eating like at 8 p.m. and you wake up at 6 in the morning. That's like what, like a good 10 hours in between. So you weigh yourself that day, and now you weigh like, let's say 135. But then let's say next day, it's Friday night. You ate the same, right? But you finished eating at 12 o'clock. But then the next morning you wake up at 6 in the morning again, right? And what happens? You weigh yourself and you weigh more,
When you're freaking out.
and you're freaking out. You're like, I'm 137. How?
Jose, the program isn't
Yeah,
working.
Jose.
You were wrong.
Jose, I swear to you, I swear I tracked everything. They send me like the macros. They send me everything that they ate. And I'm like, no, I believe you. Don't worry. Don't freak out. Oh, but I how can 137, 2 pounds more than yesterday. I'm like, what time do you go to sleep? Oh, at 12. What time do you wake up? At 6.
They probably gained 2 pounds of fat
Yeah,
when they went to sleep.
So
Yeah, and they inhaled it from the atmosphere, dude.
So what happens is that since you weigh yourself now 6 hours after your last meal, you haven't fully digested your food. So that food is still in your stomach. And so when you weigh yourself on the scale doesn't know if you have more food or not. It just knows weight.
Yeah.
It just knows how much weight you have in fat and muscle and water weight and hair that you have, plus the food that you haven't fully digested. Like all that is taken into account with the scale. So that's why body composition should be more of a way to measure if you're making progress, because if you're just always looking for the body weight, you're going to be confused, you're going to be frustrated.
So
now
basically,
just as
it's
a teaching lesson, right? Just like, hey, you're going to vary your body weight from day to day, depending on what time you go to sleep, when's the last time you weigh yourself, did you drink more water the day before, did you drink less water the day before,
Did you increase
the
your
day
carbs,
after, did you
sodium?
increase your carbs,
Oh, yeah, sodium's huge, too.
So many factors take into account.
how many times did you pee?
Yeah, like
Stuff like that.
Take into account how much you're gonna weigh the next day.
Yep.
So
So basically, to sum it up, you're literally just gonna poop it out later.
basically,
Yeah.
basically.
It's the average. So and going back to how you started.
That was what I was gonna say, the average. But go ahead.
Is I think a lot of people get emotionally attached to the number, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I always tell my clients, that you don't want to get overly excited when you have a sudden drop in weight, just like you don't want to get frustrated when you don't drop in weight, or where maybe even you have a small increase in weight when you know that you've been tracking and you know that you've been hitting your numbers and you should be going down. So when I tell people to track, or when I tell people to weigh themselves every day, I really emphasize the data. Like, you want to look at this as information so that we can see patterns over time. And that way you can see, okay, yesterday I ate more carbs, like you were saying, and I woke up 2 pounds heavier. Yesterday I drank more water, I woke up 1 pound heavier. Yesterday I ate less carbs, I had less sodium, I dropped weight. And then I came back up the next day. So you can start seeing that, like, and then you can start comparing the average of last week to the average of the week after. And then you can start seeing more patterns that are gonna be more indicative of what's really going on over time. And sometimes you might not even lose weight for a little bit, and you're hitting all your numbers. But that, again, it doesn't mean that you should decrease more and take more food away. It just means that your body's adapting, and eventually it will continue losing weight or going up or whatever. It depends on what your calories are.
Yeah, stress levels have a lot to do with that. You know, if you're stuck for a couple weeks and you were very stressed during those weeks, it's because your body's trying to hold on to. It's like cortisol levels are higher, and so your body's like trying to hold on, trying to survive. But then all of a sudden, like, you get a good night of sleep. The week after, nice week of sleeping well, and then all of a sudden you just drop like a pound, maybe a pound and a half. So the main thing is to stick to the plan. If you stick to the plan, it's going to work. And to not freak out over the numbers, and just stay patient and just stay consistent, which is what we've been talking about in this podcast the whole time. Consistency is going to be the key, and it's basically a fixed fight. The whole fitness endeavor that you're going to partake in.
Simple, but it's hard.
Simple, but it's that you see, that's where Andres was talking about in the beginning. It's more psychological.
Yep.
Okay, the plan is easy, but it's psychological factors, those obstacles that come in. That's what's going to make it more difficult to achieve your goal when it comes to body composition.
Yeah, absolutely. So how should you track? So since we're saying that weight is not necessarily, like, you should be tracking your weight, but weight is not necessarily
it's not the only one.
The only thing that you should be tracking, and it's not going to tell you if you're progressing or not, because you could be losing weight and not necessarily getting closer to your goals. Same thing if you're trying to build muscle, you could be gaining weight and not necessarily getting closer to your goals. So the best way, and I think you guys, I want you guys to expand on this, but the best way I think to track progress, especially when you're trying to do body composition, is body fat percentage. There are a lot of ways of tracking body fat percentage. My personal preferred way is calipers. I think it's easy, and I think it's something that it's inexpensive instead of something else, and it can be something that is consistent intra-rater, which means if you're doing it always, you're gonna be consistent with the way that you're doing it.
Yeah, calipers. I'm not. To be honest with you, I hate them.
Me too. I do as well.
Why do you guys hate them?
I hate.
Is it just tedious?
It's just a tedious work.
Yeah.
To be honest, me being lazy.
Yeah.
So that's to me, I don't use calipers on my clients. I just use measurements.
Measurements?
Yeah.
Okay. So waist
waist,
circumference.
waist, the thighs, biceps, chest, things like that. And even some clients don't even feel comfortable with you touching them like that.
Yeah.
So
there are different. So the Jackson Pollock method has either 4-point, 5-point, 6-point, or 7-point. So for females, I use 4-point, obviously, and for males, I use maybe 6.
Yeah.
So it depends, obviously, on but they're usually pretty. And again, this is something that I think we should address. No body fat percentage measurement tool is going to be 100%.
100%. That's what I was going to touch on, because even though I use the measurements, sometimes I never really ever use them.
Yep.
And so basically, I just track their body weight.
Yeah.
And so I track their body weight, and if I see that the performance is still increasing, then that lets me know that their muscle mass is improving.
Right.
And so
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I eyeball it. I
Yeah.
literally eyeball it, and I try to figure out their body weight. I tell them, please tell me your body weight consistently for this amount of time. And if their performance hasn't dropped and their body weight seems to be the same and they're looking leaner, well, that you probably know what that means.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then they can also give you their own experience of how they're feeling in their clothes. Usually what happens is that if a person is weighing the same but their clothes fit looser, then they're losing body fat and they're
For
gaining
sure.
muscle mass.
I was kind of looking for a objective way of measuring progress, but yes, absolutely. I think that is the best way of making sure that that we are going in the right direction. Is we could be taking all of these measurements, but at the end of the day, are you getting stronger? Do you feel better? Do you feel stronger? Do you when you look in the mirror, do you see a difference? Those are all going to be way better indicators than just taking the number on the scale.
So when you mean objective, you mean the calipers, the
Right. So objective, I mean quantifiable.
measurements, quantifiable. Okay. So what do you think about the those scales that they sell now that
N-bodies?
they give
I
you?
tell you this stuff.
No. N-bodies is more advanced, you would say, but the ones that you can buy from at home, and they tell you the body weight, and then right next to it they tell you the percentage body fat, which typically is just since you weigh less, and you basically have to put in the how much, how tall are you, and if you're a female, male, your body weight. If you're athletic, you work out 3-4 times a week, and then it gives you kind of a guesstimate of your body fat percentage. I have one, and I think that staying consistent with the measurement is going to be the most important thing. So maybe my scale tells me I'm 12%, but maybe I'm just 16. But either way, when I'm losing body fat, instead of telling me 12, it'll tell me 11.5 or it'll tell me 11. It's just as long as you keep the
tool
the same all the time, that's how you can measure your.
So does it need
progress.
to be accurate as long as it's consistent and precise?
Right.
Exactly.
Because there's other ones like the N-body, which is more accurate, but it's also more expensive. There's a DEXA scan, which is also is more expensive,
and also not accessible for a lot of people. So
you have to pay for
you have to find a place to do that.
Usually hospitals are the ones that have the DEXA scan or something like that.
And even those, I've seen the results of those be a little bit.
Yeah, none of them. Unless you want to do a cadaver, you don't want to do a biopsy. That's the only way that you're going to figure out the exact percentage. But so to clarify what we just said, keep the measurement tool the same. So if you're using electrical impedance, meaning those little things that you hold out and it tells you your body fat percentage, keep using the same one. If you're using the scale, keep using the same scale. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go to the scale and then go to use the calipers and then go use the N-body and then go, you don't want to have all of these different measurement tools for your body fat percentage. You want to use the same one, because it doesn't matter if it's telling you if you're actually 3 below or above, as long as you're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So next question is, how much should a person be consuming according to their goal
This
in terms
is
of calories.
in terms of calories? There's a lot of information about this out there.
Man.
I want to hear you guys' take on what usually is your first go-to and what kind of adjustments you make according to your findings when you tell your client how much to eat and stuff like that.
I need an example because it really depends on what's the background of the client.
Hey, Nick, I want to work with you, and I want to lose 10 pounds in 3 months. And I'm not tracking. I'm not doing anything.
Are you male or female? And how old?
I am male.
What's your profession?
I am 35 years old, and I work 9 to 5. I am a CEO.
And are you overweight or are you?
I'm overweight. I want to
Overweight?
lose 10 pounds at least.
I'd probably
I
put
want it
you
to
at
be within
like
3 months.
Okay. Well, I'd probably either start you at either very close to maintenance or a 10 to 15% deficit in your caloric intake. Meaning, if your caloric expenditure daily is around 2,000 calories, you would go 10 to 15% below that. And you're probably under consuming protein, which is most case for most people. So I'd probably up your protein more. But that's not something we're going to touch on yet because that's more macronutrient oriented. So that's for later in the podcast. And then over time, as you develop your musculature, I'm going to bring you back to maintenance. As you develop your muscles, since muscles obviously spend more calories than fat does, you want to kind of bring yourself higher and higher and higher until you get to a point where you can start a bulk. Again, I very rarely recommend more than 10% or 15% deviation from your maintenance, unless you're like a competitive bodybuilder. Yeah. I really don't like deviating too much because I don't think there's a need for it. There's no time frame. You're not in a rush.
Yeah.
And every time you go either below 15% or above 15%, the rate at which you gain or lose, it's just too quick.
Yeah.
Most people can't keep up with it.
Yeah. And also, the faster you lose, the less control you have of what you're losing. Yeah.
Meaning that you might be losing muscle
Muscle.
mass as well.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's my answer for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like that.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So if I get a new client, I'm going to keep this general. I first want to see what they're doing. So I don't want to make any changes. When I first start helping somebody with nutrition, what I will do is I will just have them track for a week, and I want to see those. I want to see those notes of them tracking. I want to see what they're consuming, where they're getting their protein, where their protein is at. I'm asking them about water intake. I want to see like what choices they're making, if they're snacking, what kind of snacks they're having, all of those things. So I want to take a look. I want to understand what I'm dealing with before I make any changes. And usually, like you said, the first change will be increasing protein intake. And I do it slowly. So there's a lot of information out there about how much protein you should be having to increase muscle mass or to cut, whatever. Usually it's around like 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, somewhere in that ballpark. But most people are even below the 0.8. So let's say somebody's at half a gram per pound of body weight, I would have them come up to 0.6 grams per pound. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I just increase very slowly. So like I don't initially go to the 0.8 to 1 per gram per pound of body weight. I just want to increase set behaviors, things like that. And then I've talked to Nick about this before. I try to use the method of addition rather than subtraction. So if I see that they're, let's say, having a bunch of diet sodas or sodas, whatever, usually the case of diet sodas, but sodas in general, and I don't want them to be having that much sodas or processed drinks, I'll increase their water intake, and I'll really emphasize that so that they can start making their own decisions about, if I'm having to have a half gallon of water or a gallon of water, depending on how much water I give them, then they're not going to be able to fit all of those sodas. And same thing with the protein intake. Increasing protein intake will satiate the person more, which will cost them to probably less calories and things like that. I also like to take a look at how much they're eating, because I find a lot, especially with females, that they're under eating severely. So maybe cutting or going in a caloric deficit might not be the first thing that I suggest. And I might want them to actually increase their caloric intake so that we can cut from a higher place. And I think we'll touch on this a little bit more afterwards because I just wanted to give a general answer.
Yeah.
And I want to hear what
I think it's very rare that you start someone on a deficit.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely
Yeah.
has it
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
It's just people that have been training already. 'Cause
Exactly.
It's really hard to cut from nothing.
Mhm.
You need to
And
create
that's
like a
usually the
baseline
case
of
because people come to you
caloric
and they've
cushion.
been dieting
Yeah.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah, so 9 out of 10 people I've seen that they are under eating, even a guy and women, especially if they're beginners. If they're just getting into this whole journey of working out and trying to get serious about it. I find that most people are under eating. So I do basically kind of like the same thing that Andres does. I let the person track for a whole week, so I can see how many grams of protein, carbs, fats they're eating, how much water they're intaking. So basically all those things that we can quantify. At the end of the week, I take those numbers and I average them out. And I show them where they at and the goal that they should be striving for.
Mm-hmm.
And so typically, like you guys said, both of you guys said that people usually undereat in protein. They most likely overeat in carbs and fats. And so
And
basically, and alcohol. So basically, we're trying to change those habits. We're trying to kind of like reverse the table because it's like, imagine like carbs and fats are here and protein is here. You're trying to go more like this. But we don't do it right away. We start gradually, like Andre said. Why? Most of the time, if you've never gotten used to, well, we all have gone through this.
Yeah.
That when we started, because we probably all went from 0 to 100.
Absolutely.
And that's me. I go from 0 to 100. I'm either all in or nothing.
We're also super passionate
Yeah.
trainers, and like 90% of
Yeah.
people are not.
Passionate
Yeah,
trainers.
that's like
I'm
that.
gonna do this 100% every
Yeah.
single day.
Yeah.
And even me, sometimes I can't do that. Like I'll fall off. I fall off at it, just like everybody does.
Yeah. So for me, when I started training myself, working out, and I read that I need to eat 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight, I was like, bet, that's what we're gonna
doing.
do. That's what we're doing. And so I was basically choking myself like on with meat and protein. Like it was so hard. It was so it was so hard. Like, and I had to use more protein shakes than usual. Why? Because
Absolutely.
it's so hard to eat a 6-ounce chicken with rice.
8 times a day.
Yeah, like, and then they're telling you back in the day in those magazines, like, oh, you gotta eat 4 to 6 times a day.
Yeah.
So now you're eating like 3 servings of chicken that each are 6 ounces,
Yeah.
plus eggs, plus egg whites, plus oatmeal, and you're like choking yourself when you're eating.
And protein is super satiating.
And protein is super
so
satiating. Like I'm full, but I'm still pushing through. And 2-3 hours later,
You gotta do it again.
I'm not even hungry, but I need to get my protein intake.
Does a good job.
So I'm just like pushing in that protein again and again and
Yeah.
again. It got easier. Okay, so little by little, you start getting more hungry. You start developing more muscle mass. So then all of a sudden, like eating that amount of protein is pretty easy. But back to the client, that's why Andres and Nick and we recommend starting slow. We don't want you guys to experience what we experience. That's why we're coaches, because we experience these things and then we try to make the experience more smooth for my clients. We're not trying to throw them into the lion's den like we threw ourselves into the lion's
We
den.
made the mistakes. You guys don't have to make the
Right.
mistakes.
Correct.
Right.
That's what you pay us for.
Exactly.
Yep.
To make the mistakes for you.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, then it's just creating habits from there. It's upping the protein intake, adding more vegetables, more fiber into your diet, more nutritious foods, because most people eat foods that are empty calories, which is something that we're going to discuss later in the podcast. Most people are not really giving themselves vitamins and minerals. They're just like eating whatever.
What they want.
What
they
they want.
crave.
Yeah, what they crave.
And usually, and I'm sure we'll touch more on this too, but usually if you're eating a lot of processed foods, and we'll touch on what processed foods are, you want to eat more of that. So,
Right.
and I think it's a good place to actually
Yeah.
touch on processed food. So, that's another thing that the next part, like after I increase protein, that I'll usually try to, and after water, I'll usually try to transition people away from processed foods and more into the whole food realm of like, where are you getting your protein from? Is it, like you're saying, whenever we read, the 1.5 grams per pound of body weight,
Sometimes
there's no
two.
way.
I once tried that too.
There
I
was a
did
point
too.
where I was at 220 grams of protein per day when I was weighing 160 pounds. And if you've ever had 220 grams of protein in a day, you know how difficult that is. And you can't, and it's, I mean, you could, but it's going to be very difficult to get all of that from Whole Foods, like you were saying. You know?
I don't think I got that phase of fitness when I was starting out. You guys are
you entered into the golden age of information.
Yeah.
Like when I started, there was there was YouTube, but there wasn't like no YouTube Fitness back in the day. There was no Instagram. There was no TikTok, obviously. It was all just magazines of bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Jacked on steroids, and they were the ones giving the advice. And so you had to take that advice. That's the only thing that you knew. So we had to go to the extreme because the bodybuilders are extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To give you a little timeline for those of you who know, when I started my journey, or like when I started working out, I was taking the original formula of C4. So,
what's that?
which is a pre-workout for those of you.
I only know
the
Gorilla
original.
Mode.
The original formula ended up getting banned because of how strong that was. So there was just a lot of information that was just like super extreme. And way, 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 way off.
That's probably why the general population that's more, let's just say, older nowadays, like they're in their 50s and 60s, they tend to see people that train as like these crazy juiced up meatheads. Like they
because that's how it started.
Yeah.
That's how it started. Yeah. So, what was it that we just touched on?
How many calories you should be consuming. That was where we stopped.
Yeah.
Or I guess how you should track it at least.
Right. So processed foods and whole foods. Whole foods are going to be those that usually don't come super packaged, and it's like, so the difference between a steak and bacon, or that's not a steak, like pork chop and bacon,
it's like two different
or
animals.
like a potato chip and a potato, right? So like a potato chip is going to be really processed, and I like using the potato chip example because I could sit down, going back to the whole satiation thing. Processed foods are going to be designed to override the satiation mechanism so that you want more even whenever you are full.
Is that what they're designed to do?
Well, definitely, because they want you to have more of it. And so it's a business. It becomes a business. The earth and cows don't have a business, but humans definitely have a business. So I could sit down and eat a large bag of potato chips easily in one sitting. If you look at the nutrition facts, there are about 3 to 4 potatoes in a large bag of potato chips, plus oil, plus salt, and all of that. So technically more calories than 3 to 4 potatoes. I cannot sit down and eat 3 to 4 potatoes. Baked potatoes? I couldn't do that.
It's impossible.
I wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah.
Because of the food volume specifically?
The food volume, and just because I will actually get my satiation response and not have something override it. Yeah.
A lot of I describe it to my clients, foods that have high fiber content will get you full, as opposed to the ones that don't have high fiber content. So what doesn't have high fiber content? Ice cream, potato chips, candies, chocolate bars.
Things that are easy to digest.
Like, those are so easy. Like you eat that and you can eat 1,000 calories and you don't even feel it.
So basically high glycemic carbs.
Right.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, try to eat 1,000 calories on potatoes. You won't.
Not gonna happen.
You won't. You can probably do it throughout the
day.
full day, but in a sitting, it's impossible. It's impossible because you're gonna be so full. So you get fuller, you end up eating less calories, and that right there already, like, it really helps with the calorie restriction when it comes to losing body fat or losing body weight.
Right. And I think to finish that topic, we should talk about how much of a like if you want to lose weight or if you want to build muscle, how much of a deficit and how much of a surplus is necessary, and to do that. And before we do that, I think we should actually describe what BMR is, basal metabolic rate, or maintenance calories. So I'll do that, and then I want you guys to take over. So whenever you are just living, like you're just going about your day, doing your regular activities, plus sustaining your own body's mechanisms and systems, it requires energy. And these energies, we measure them by calories. So that's the unit of energy that we use for the body, and also for food. That's the unit that we convert from food to calories. So the amount of calories that it takes your body to just maintain itself, not lose any weight, not gain any weight, just maintain itself, is that what people call basal metabolic rate, or just your maintenance calories, right? So that's balance.
I
You're
think
balanced
isn't
right
your
there.
BMR just what you would expect without any
yes,
movement,
you're
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
You're correct. You're correct.
And then the TDE, which is your total
Your
daily
daily
energy
expenditure.
energy.
Correct.
That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you do,
yeah.
accounting for activities and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
thanks for clarifying. Yeah, exactly. Nick is totally right. Yeah, BMR would be if you're just like sitting on the couch doing nothing. But either way, so the reason that you want to know that number is because then you want to make decisions from that number. If you want to lose weight, you got to be eating less than that number, less calories than that number. And if you want to build muscle, you could build muscle with maintenance. And sometimes if you're a beginner or very detrained, you could build muscle even in a deficit. But for most people, if your goal is to build muscle, you want to be in a slight surplus. So I think we should talk about how much of a surplus or how much of a deficit, depending on what your goals are, you should be in.
Yeah, so it all depends on how fast you want to gain weight, or how slow you want to gain weight, or how fast you want to lose weight, how slow you want to gain weight, lose weight. So there's pros and cons to all these options, and that's something that you're gonna have to talk to your coach about and discuss, because your coach is gonna have to educate you what are the pros and cons of all these. So if you're trying to lose weight, and actually lose body fat, because we're always looking to lose body fat and maintain or gain as much muscle as possible, or as the person desires.
Right.
So if you're looking to lose body fat, the deficit is going to take into the amount of deficit calories you're going to have might affect your muscle mass. So if you get too deep into a deficit, you're going to end up losing weight faster, body fat faster, but also you're going to end up losing muscle mass.
Of course.
And you don't want that. Even though you're going to get to your goal body weight faster, you're also going to lose strength, and you're also going to lose muscle mass, and your body composition, which is the whole goal of this, is going to look worse than what you were expecting.
And your performance might suffer.
And your performance might suffer. That is if you're playing any sports, or overall you just want to have better performance in the gym. So, and now if you do a not such a high calorie deficit, then it takes longer for you to reach your goal. It takes more patience, definitely, more consistency, but it'll be much worth it, because now you actually have a chance of gaining a little bit of muscle mass if you are a beginner or someone that hasn't trained in a long time, along with getting rid of that body fat that we're trying to get rid of. It just takes a little bit more patience.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
It also is more sustainable in terms of like, is it something that you're doing because you have a wedding in 3 weeks or 3 months, or something like that? Or it could be 3 weeks, or is it something that you're doing because you want to change your lifestyle? So, like time frames matter. But even if you do have a wedding in 3 months, are you just going to drop your goals after that wedding? So I always say, like, you have to kind of play the long game, even if you have something coming up soon. Like, you have to kind of understand that, like, if you want to you look good for the wedding, but you also want to look good afterwards, I'm assuming. I mean, most people would probably want to do that. So yes. So Jose, I have a question for you. How much, if somebody is just starting to, you've already gone through the process of increasing their calories and they want to start losing weight and they're not necessarily worried about any time frame, ballpark, how much do you start them off on a deficit?
So they're already in their maintenance calories. Okay. So first we have to help people understand that this is a numbers game. Okay. So if you want, when it comes to losing weight or gaining weight, it's a numbers game. It's a mathematical equation. So basically, calories in, calories out. That's, again, I'm going to clarify. If you want to lose or gain weight. Weight, not health. Okay, we're not talking about you being healthy.
Not even body composition, just weight.
Just weight. Yeah, not health. I'm not talking about your markers when you go get checked in the doctor, if your cholesterol is good or your blood pressure. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
health. I mean
body weight, not health.
How useful is that?
Yeah. What?
Just looking at the weight.
How useful is it?
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
But, so textbooks teaches us that 1 pound is 3,500 calories.
On the fat,
1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories, right?
because muscle's more, right?
Actually, I don't know.
I think muscle. I'm pretty sure muscle's more.
I don't know, but yeah, I've heard that figure
One,
of,
one
of
pound of body,
3,500.
one pound of body fat is 3,500 calories.
Yeah.
Right. So, I'm just doing simple math. If you're trying to lose 1 pound of body fat per week, which is typically what we recommend, so that it's slow but it's sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
You want to subtract 500 calories in the next 7 days. Okay. So then you will get yourself in a 3,500 calorie deficit.
Because
Which
3,500
averages out-
divided
averages
by
out-
7, right?
Yeah. So it averages out to be 500 calories of deficit per day
That makes sense.
Which
away
in
from
a week would be
right.
75.
Right.
100.
So then if your maintenance is 2,000 calories, then you will be eating 1,500 calories to start losing 1 pound of body fat per week.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No. Yeah. You hit it on the money.
Okay.
So actually, I have the same question for you. If you were to start somebody, let's say, and I'm gonna make it more specific. Let's say that they are at 3,000 calories as a maintenance.
Good
They
for
want to
them.
lose weight.
Good for them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they trained or are they detrained?
Trained.
Trained.
You've been training them up to that number.
If they are more performance oriented,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably put them maintenance or slightly above. If their goal is to still lose weight, like it was the example previously,
Mm-hmm.
I would, like I told you before, I wouldn't go anything below 15% deficit,
Mm-hmm.
and just try to figure. And then I'll do the math to figure out how many weeks it would take to get them to a goal weight. But I don't think, like, unless it's again a bodybuilding show or a competition which you need to have a certain weight by a certain time, I'm not adjusting that 15%. Just because then you start running into a lot of performance detriments that are they're not gonna be favorable for them to maintain the muscle mass that they could have maintained if they took it slower.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
But what I also want to say is that for at least what happened to me, anecdotal evidence for myself as well. Most people, I think, can get away with starting off just on maintenance and with more protein, because the thermic effect of food is kind of in their favor whenever they eat more protein. And I guess we'll touch on that, what the thermic effect of food is later. But maintenance seems to work pretty well because if you think about it, it's homeostasis. It's what your body, it's exactly what your body needs. Nothing more, nothing less, enough for it to function. And in the beginning, since obviously if the person's untrained or detrained, they're going to build muscle regardless.
Yeah.
It's just obviously the rate's going to be slower as if they were bulking, but I would also argue that they don't need to build muscle that fast, that quick right now. So I argue, I'm a big advocate for maintenance when you start.
So what you're saying, and this is going to be groundbreaking, is that you can change your body composition while eating in maintenance?
Yes. Yeah. People associate maintenance with like lack of change, but not really.
But that is if you never. Well, yeah.
You can still build muscle.
Yeah.
You
still
can,
build muscle.
absolutely.
Yeah, but it doesn't work all the time.
It doesn't work all the
If
time.
you've never done it and you do it for the first time, it works. But
Yeah. Like I said, it's either if you're
if they're-
untrained
It also-
or detrained, which is 90% of the population.
Also
Yeah.
depends on your training program, too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Well, if you're not
let's say-
progressively overloading,
right.
it's very unlikely. And
Right.
if you're not getting your actual proteins that you need for the day, it's also very unlikely.
Yeah.
Now, once those boxes are checked, seems to me like that works pretty well because it keeps them just enough satiated where they don't have to binge, but also, not the opposite either. They don't feel like they're starved. They're filling themselves up too much. Training goes well. It seems like that's a pretty good medium for the majority of people, given everything else is performed correctly.
Yeah.
I would have given the same answer. If they had just gone into maintenance, I would have kept them there.
Yeah.
But I thought the question was like they're ready to lose right now,
Like as quickly
Like,
as possible.
quickly as possible.
Then if that's the question, then I guess it would depend on how high their maintenance is right now. Because if their maintenance is at 2,000 calories, I don't know about that, dude. I don't know if I can feel comfortable putting someone at 1,500 calories a day and still giving them a hard workout.
I've gotten women that are at 13, 14, 1,500 calories maintenance.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's like, what are they, like 100, like short, like 100 pounds?
No, if anything, overweight.
Wow.
Those are the ones that you would try to bring up their
Increase.
calories.
Yeah. And it's the
increase.
hardest to convince them because they're like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I'm going to gain weight?
Oh, because then they look at the energy
Right.
balance standpoint. They're like, oh, I got to just cut my calories more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I think that that's something that we should touch on, that you can change your maintenance, like how many calories you burn throughout your
It's
your
very
day.
fluid.
That can
Very
change.
fluid. Yeah, all the time.
And that's what we're referring to when we say that we rarely start people off on a deficit, that we want to build people up to a certain amount of calories. What we mean by that is that if I get a client that is eating very low and is not losing weight, meaning like let's say they're eating 1,500 calories and they're not losing weight, usually that happens when you've been dieting for a really long period of time. You do a ton of cardio. You're doing no weightlifting. You do the yo-yo dieting. So you go on a diet, you fall off, you go on a diet, you fall off, you go on a diet, you fall off. You end up making your metabolism very efficient. And that sounds good. Oh, I have an efficient metabolism? That's awesome. You do not want an efficient metabolism in today's world, because having an efficient metabolism means that you do more work using less energy. And in today's world, with how much available food and not just available, but quantity of food we have, you want your body to be ineffective with its use of calories. You want your body to be using as many calories as it can just to do that movement. Whatever movement you do, you want your body to be expensive. You want your body to take up a lot of energy, to move, to do things, to survive. How do you do that? How do you make your body burn more calories? And there's a lot of ways that this can happen.
So there's a reverse. If we talk about nutrition, you're talking about the reverse dieting.
I'm talking about everything. So how can you change your lifestyle? What things can you do to increase your total daily energy expenditure and your basal metabolic rate?
Exercise.
Yeah.
Start lifting.
Because you're going to have to spend energy for recovery. You're going to have to spend energy for your workout. You're going to have to, your nervous system is going to spend more energy because it needs to recover itself as well. Your body's going to get bigger. So you're going to spend more energy to do every single movement. It's like it exponentially builds on itself.
And that combined with a slight increase in calories, letting your body know that it does not have to be frugal with those calories, that it can actually use those calories and not have to hold on to every single calorie that it can, that will increase your total daily energy expenditure. Of course, if you're more active, you're going to manually be burning more calories. But if you're building muscle and you are not just building muscle, but promoting the use of those extra calories to build a bigger engine for your body, so turning your body into a Mustang rather than turning your body into a Prius, you want your body to take up a lot of gasoline to go 10 miles.
Yeah.
So that's a good analogy.
Low MPGs, right?
Exactly.
This is very common. Very common. Back in the day when we used to work at F45, there was people that worked out twice a day at F45, 6 days a week. And they were like, Jose, I can't drop a pound.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, do you know how much you're eating? Obviously, they wouldn't know. But the ones that I did find out what they were eating is they were eating nothing. Low, like what Andres was alluding to, like 1,300, 1,400 calories per day. And these people were working out twice a day.
Every day.
That means that they were a Prius.
Exactly.
A Prius trying to go 200 miles an hour.
They were a Prius, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And so I explained that what we've been explaining, like, hey, like start increasing your calories a little bit. They'll get scared. They'll be like, oh no, look, I'm going to get fat.
It's right here.
Yeah, it's all here. It's psychological. And we all three of us know that that's not true. Once you start slowly increasing your calories, all of a sudden, like what Andres was explaining, your body just can expend more. You end up gaining muscle mass, losing body fat, which is what we're all looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you to eat more so you can. Who doesn't want to eat more?
I'm giving you what you
like,
actually want.
I'm giving you what you actually want, what you're working out
it's like
for.
Getting rich.
Because most people want to work out to lose body fat. So I'm telling you exactly what you need to do. But psychologically, you're getting yourself blocked off.
Yeah. There's this quote that we have up on our gym that I love. And it's like, when you're working hard and you don't get the results that you want, just try listening to what your coach told you to do the first time. To what your coach told you to do the first time. Because,
that's great.
Yeah,
that's
it's true.
great.
It's true.
No,
and it happens a lot. I feel like people are very selective. Like, I'll listen to you with the things that I actually am willing to do, but if I'm not willing to do, I'm not going to listen, but I'm still going to complain whenever I don't get the results that I wanted. So I'm not trying to hate on anybody, but it is realistic, and it is something that is not your coach's fault. If you are not following what your coach is telling you to do, you should not go and complain when you don't get the results that you want, because your coach is trying to help you out. I understand that it's very difficult. I understand that it's hard to change your lifestyle, but if you're looking for the answers and you're getting the answers and you're saying, you know what, no, I'm not going to do it, then the problem is not that it's not working, the program's not working, the nutrition's not working. It's that you're not following the steps and the simple steps that you need to follow to get the results that you want.
100%.
So it's your fault.
It is your fault.
It's your fault.
Yes.
Listen.
Sorry to be so tough love about it, but yes, you need to check off the boxes. If you're not checking off the boxes, then that's it.
Yeah, just trust the coach.
Yeah.
And when you do everything that your coach told you and then it doesn't succeed, we'll take accountability.
Exactly.
And if you don't trust your coach, ask them why.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them to take you through the steps of why they think that's going to work.
Yeah.
Just confront them about it.
Or ask yourself, why don't you trust your coach? Maybe you need a new coach. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't trust your coach, unless you have trust issues and things like that. But
Seems pretty common.
all right. So, next point that we're going to talk about is
Protein myths.
well, yeah, but I
Protein in
kind of
general,
want to,
right?
before we even, because we alluded to it very briefly, but how much protein ideally? Again, we
God.
talked about how you should increase your protein intake when
Yeah.
you have not been tracking. But ideally, what you want to get up to, what should that number be? Around, if you ballpark it,
Jose,
because obviously it's
go
different
first.
for everybody.
Ideally. So I just always recommend, I don't know if this is ideal or the right answer. I don't think there's really like a right answer. I just want my client to be able to maintain their performance and maintain the muscle mass that they gained. So 1 gram per pound of body weight to 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight.
Mm-hmm.
That is if they're already pretty lean, right? Because if my client is still very overweight, let's say they're supposed to be in the 180s and they're weighing 220.
Then a little bit less.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit less. I'm not looking for them to get 220 grams of protein. That's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And let's say that client came down from 250 now, they're 220. They still have to lose more. It's still going to be less because that less is still going to be a lot.
Yeah.
So
Usually what I do is whenever my clients are above 28%, I go for kilograms. So 1 gram per
28%
kilogram
of
body fat.
body fat.
If
Okay.
you're above 28% or somewhere in that ballpark, I'll go switch over to kilograms instead of pounds.
Okay.
So then it's less.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So talking about like a guy or a woman?
I mean, either one.
Okay.
Usually, I mean, around there.
Well, for
around that
28%
ballpark.
for a guy, it's pretty high. For a girl, it's
For a guy,
okay.
it's not that bad. But yeah, so let's say 30 for a girl, 28 for a
So
guy.
it's 0.8 kilograms instead of a 0.8 grams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So you're 0.8 to 1 per kilogram rather than per pound.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I agree. I agree with that. What do you think, Nick?
I would say the leaner you are, the more protein I'm giving you.
That too.
Anywhere in between 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. So if you're approaching the 7% range, it's like up it up or you're going to start losing your muscle, bro. You know,
Yeah.
and if you're more on the overweight side, it's like
Yeah.
you're okay with eating like 0.8.
And by the way, I think it's also important to say like below 10% body fat is not necessarily like the healthiest point for anybody to be in.
Not year round, not all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I think a lot of people kind of think that the leaner you are,
The
the
healthier you
healthier
are.
it is. But the best for a male would be between like
12-ish.
Yeah, like
I'd say that.
10 to 12, maybe even a little higher. And for females, like 15 to 20 is a good.
I'd
Maybe
say
even
that's
a little bit
where
higher.
that's where most athletes are,
Yeah.
right? For
Yeah.
most sports, they're like around 12%.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just people they have that idea that looks like a freaking like 7% body fat. It's
Yeah.
like no, not really.
No.
And that's having a higher percentage body fat is extremely important for women. That like a lot of women want to be super lean, and that actually affects their menstrual cycle.
And
So
hormones. in general.
hormones, and that's not obviously good for you. So yeah, adhering to those percentages, you know, the 15, 20, 17, or 22, whatever. Like, you're still going to look great.
Yeah.
So,
I'd say around the 20s for women is usually
Yeah.
like a healthy range.
Yeah.
and they have to understand, some of them want to get super low, and it's like, no, you have to understand that you, evolutionarily, you need to stay higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that we can continue to survive as a species. If not, you cannot have babies.
Exactly.
And there's also, I've heard cases of some girls that they cut down to like a lot of, like a very low level of body fat, specifically for bodybuilding shows or not, and they never recover from it. Like their hormones like never
Yeah.
come back to what they should.
I had a
the function.
client like that. She had been competing in bikini competitions for 2 years, and for about, since her first competition, she hadn't had her menstrual cycle. And so I didn't know that, actually.
She never told you?
She never told me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Were you controlling her calories and
No.
no?
She was with another coach. Then she hired me, and she just wanted to do powerlifting because she was over.
Oh.
She was over
Yeah.
it. She was over the whole bikini competitions.
Yeah.
And so obviously I gave her more calories because, you know, we wanted her to get as strong as possible. And 8 months later, her mom sends me a text message. She's like, "Hey, I want to let you know, thank you so much for what you've done with my daughter. My daughter wasn't having her menstrual cycle for the past year and a half." And I was like, what? Like, I could have messed her up and I didn't know that. But whatever we were doing was working, and now, you know, she's actually married now, and she has a daughter.
Oh, nice.
And so-
Worked
Great.
out.
Yeah.
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 I've heard cases that
And
that can even happen for guys too, like guys that get their low body fat for such a long time.
And I mean, I think the bodybuilding thing for women, I love powerlifting for women.
Yeah.
Much more than bodybuilding, because there's so many negative effects that, and also the behavior. Like,
Mental and physiological, right?
Right.
Both. The mental aspect of it is tough, man.
yes, it is. You're comparing, the whole sport is comparing yourselves to how other people look, not even how
Yeah.
other people perform.
Because performance is more objective.
Right,
You can
you
say I lift a pound more than you.
Right.
But looks, it's like
Looks,
it's
so
so subjective. There's so many that goes that goes into. There's no right or wrong. Like there's no objective marker. of it.
And then again, the way that you eat is just to make yourself look a certain way, not to make yourself feel or perform a certain way. So I just think that in general, there's a lot of negative things that can happen in bodybuilding. I started in bodybuilding myself. That's how I'm not a bodybuilder by any means. I'm obviously not a bodybuilder.
Not saying, but I think I started there too.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to do. I did a physique competition, and I learned a
nice.
lot. That's where I tracked the first time, and I learned a lot through tracking.
yeah.
Food, by the way, if anybody tracking food. So I learned a lot, but I also learned a lot of what not to do. So yeah, and I wanted to move to, before we move on to the next point, touching on the total protein consumption, how much you should have per meal. At least, and I want to know what you guys say. There's a lot of information out there about how much you should be having per meal. And I've read some articles that'll say that you can only process 30 to 40 grams per, say, whatever. What people don't realize, I think, and I want to know what you guys think about this, is that just because a research article says that you can't process more than 30 grams of protein in an hour, doesn't mean that your body's just going to get rid of the rest of those grams if you eat more than that. It just takes a little bit longer to process it. Your body will store it until it can process it. And I think that at the end of the day, it matters more if you're hitting. This is actually one of the other questions that the person that I talked about was asking me. At the end of the day, it matters more if you're hitting your protein intake total rather than how many grams of protein you're having per meal. Now, what I will add to that is I think it matters more how it makes you feel. So if too much protein in a meal makes you feel bloated and it affects your digestion and things like that, then maybe you want to have more meals in the day and less protein per meal. But if you don't have any issues with digestion from protein intake, it's fine to have 50 grams of protein in a meal. You will process that and your body will use it.
Yeah.
At least that's, in my experience, I feel like that's pretty...
No, yeah, definitely. This all is very dependent on the client. Like you said, if the person is having stomach issues with having 2 or 3 meals and they're trying to get to that protein requirement that, you know, they should be getting into, they should eat more.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be more of an easier process.
More times, you're saying?
More
They
times,
should
yeah,
split it
more
up.
times, yeah. Split it up, so like three times, maybe 4 or 5 times a
Mhm.
day. And like you said, some people that can actually handle. I have clients that eat 2 times a day,
Mhm.
and they hit their protein requirement.
Yep.
I don't know how they do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I make it easier on myself.
Damn.
I try to spread it evenly through my meals. I'm like that.
Yeah.
I'm so like
Yeah. Easy.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm just so like always by the book with things that I just divide it. And
Yeah.
I actually count every single day,
Mhm.
even when I cheat. I'm that weird guy that will take the scale to the restaurant.
I have been that. I've been there.
I don't
Yeah.
give a crap about what people are looking or if I'm weird. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's my goals, it's my body, it's what I'm trying to achieve. I feel like I'm in control. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Plus, I'm setting an example for my clients. I'm not making any kind of excuses for anybody.
Exactly.
So that's me. I eat 4 meals a day and I divide it by 4.
Mhm.
So if I'm eating 200 calories, I'm dividing that by 4 and that's going
50
to give me,
grams.
yeah.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
I think it matters, but a lot less than people think it does.
Mm-hmm. Of course it does. And and again, we're talking about
Like,
99% of the
A
population.
lot less than what people
Right.
think it does. It's like I think it really only does matter if you're, again, a very high level trainee that is really trying to get that 1% competitive edge to step on a platform or a bodybuilding show and compete.
Mhm. Right.
If not, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Make sure you're just getting your daily intake.
Yeah.
Simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you guys the question that this person asked me specifically. So the question was, and this is the way that he posted, that he snacks a lot, and he has a lot of processed protein in order to reach his protein intake. And his question was, what should I do? Because he was kind of saying that like he has smaller meals and he sticks to that 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, but he doesn't have time. He doesn't have, the time to eat as many whole food meals because he works. So he ends up eating protein bars, protein shakes, and whatnot. So
I think I know who you're talking about.
so
I already know.
So what
I'm
I told him,
99% sure.
what I told him was, if it's a question of consistency, like if you're gonna tell me, is it better to hit my protein intake consistently, even if I'm getting some processed foods in there, or only get whole foods but not hit my protein intake consistently? My answer to him was, I think you would get more benefits from hitting your protein intake consistently than you would get detriments from having a processed food.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that the benefits from hitting your protein intake outweigh the detriments of what you might be having with your processed foods. And then to follow that up, I also told them that what I tell my clients is that it's not so much about what you should be avoiding as much as what you should be having.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that you're obviously hitting your macros, but apart from that, having vegetables, water, fruits, so basically vitamins and minerals. Okay, making sure that you're getting your nutrition. And then maybe if you have a pizza on top of that, it's not going to be super
Right.
detrimental.
So I agree with everything you said. But it comes to a point where you can't stay stuck with doing the same things and being lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's okay if you're starting out in your journey and you're trying to hit your protein and you have to get extra protein bars or get extra protein shakes to hit your protein. That's okay in the beginning because you're trying to get into that rhythm of meeting that requirement. But protein bars and protein shakes do not have vitamins and minerals. They just have protein
And sugar.
and sugar, and they have a
fat.
lot of processed things
Ingredients.
inside and stuff. So eventually, you're gonna have to slowly move into getting the whole foods, so that you can get those vitamins and minerals, and you can get the benefits of health.
Are you saying because it's a trade-off, right? Because since you have a caloric cap, it's like it becomes like the amount of, where you spend your calories becomes like a resource. You have to either trade one for the other.
Not only it's not just that. It's just I'm talking about in terms of vitamins and minerals. Like
Yeah.
you want to get the vitamins and minerals, like meat, chicken, like meat, poultry, fish. All these foods contain vitamins and minerals that protein
Oils
shakes,
that you
protein
need.
shakes
Mhm.
that and protein bars do not have. And they're essential vitamins and minerals for you to continue to build muscle mass and to perform the best you can perform in the gym. And not only that, to have the health that you need to have a high quality life. So like if you're stuck into doing the same thing from when you started, nah, man, you gotta move on. You gotta get better.
Yeah.
And so like I'll accept it for a moment. You just getting started with your journey. This is good. You'll be meeting the requirements, doing a great job. Let's move on to the next step. Let's start eliminating those protein bars and let's start planning ahead, which is a very important thing when it comes to getting your
Which is what he
your
told
nutrition.
me that you've told him.
Yeah, you need to plan ahead. You cannot be lazy. Plan ahead of time and go ahead and start moving on to getting bigger and better things. Like whole foods, so that you can develop those habits.
Right.
That's what I do with my clients. Every single process is like that. Start off slowly, and then we make it harder and harder and harder, and then the hard things become easy. Just like the gym, you start slow. You don't start with 225 on the bar.
Step by step.
Step by step.
Learn to crawl before you learn to walk, before you learn to run.
But it's like, and we repeating the same thing. It's the psychological factors. Feeling lazy one day, I just worked all day. I don't want to cook. Protein bar is easy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, and another thing that
How much do you want it? That's the question.
Exactly. Another thing that I suggested to him is also, which is what we just talked about, is during those 2 meals that you are having, increase your protein intake. Don't like just because people tell you to eat 30 to 40 grams. It's better to eat 50, maybe 60 grams of protein during those meals and have less protein bars, because you're going to be reaching higher protein intakes with those meals. And yeah, so that was my suggestion to him. And also, I want to talk about bioavailability, which is something that's really important too. So what bioavailability means is if you ingest 30 grams of protein, how many of those grams are you truly processing? Like, are you truly absorbing and using? And obviously, there's a ton of research, and you'll get completely, different things. But what is clear is that whole foods have more bioavailability than processed foods. Meaning, if you drink a protein shake, you might not be able to digest that protein as well as you would be able to digest 6 ounces of chicken or a steak if you don't, if red meat doesn't give you problems and things like that. Which, by the way, I have no problems with red meat. Love red meat.
Same.
Yep.
I eat it every day.
Yep.
I eat it every day.
I have a service. I literally get meat and chicken and salmon and all of that stuff delivered.
Oh, dude, he made me
To
some
me.
pork. What was it like last week?
Yes.
Damn.
From this
Yeah.
thing that I'm talking, Butcher Box. I'm just gonna,
Butcher Box,
yeah, I'm just
oh,
gonna
I've
call
heard
them
of
out.
it. Yeah, I've heard
I
of it.
absolutely love Butcher Box. I've been buying Butcher Box for almost 2, maybe even a little bit longer than 2 years now.
Oh wow.
Every single
You're a
month.
loyal client.
Lord, I have free bacon for the rest of my life.
He wants a
Because I'm
code.
such a- yes. If you want a code, I do have a Butcher Box code. And you, right now, if you use my Butcher Box code, you will get a free New York strip steak, a free lobster, and $30 off your first box. I'm not even kidding.
And the free session with Arthur Scoreal.
And a free
I
set.
think I'm gonna use it.
And it's super, super good quality. I'm not sponsored by them, guys. This is truly,
Not yet.
not yet, hopefully. Hey, Butcher Box. So no, I'm not sponsored by them, but I really, really, really like them.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. I always have it there. I don't even have to go to the supermarket to get my protein. It's always, I do freeze it, but it's there. It's there.
Yeah.
So super good.
So bioavailability.
Bioavailability. So yes, if you eat whole foods, you will be able to get more out of the nutrients that the whole foods have than if you were to eat something processed.
100%. Agreed.
Protein myths.
Protein myths.
I think I touched on the one that I wanted to touch on when I wrote that, which was the 30 grams of protein per yeah. And also, but I think another important one, and I want you guys to touch on this, is the anabolic window, the protein intake window after you work out. How true is that?
Well, according to studies, it's not true.
The data suggests.
The data suggests it's
It
not
is not
true.
true.
But I did believe in it my first I don't know, probably like 5
Well,
years.
that's what the bodybuilders.
I think a lot of people still believe
5
it.
years of working out. Yeah.
Well, you see people still bringing their protein shake to the gym and like,
chugging it
like
right
they literally get off their last set of curls and they sprint to the locker room. They do. I'm gonna miss it, man. I'm gonna. They're literally putting. They're like trembling, and you know what I mean. So I don't know.
They might be trembling for other stuff too. But yeah, so yeah, I think it's something that's marketed a lot. That's not true.
I wanna give my experience. Back in the day, like I told you guys, I'm 0 to 100, and so I'm very disciplined with all the things that I do, and so I took the 30 to 90 minute anabolic window serious. So it was one day that I worked out on a Sunday, and then I couldn't get home to change. I had to go to church to meet my parents.
I can already feel the stress.
So I'm flying to get to church, and I asked my mom, like I was still in high school. I was like, Mom, bring the protein shake to the to the church, because I need to drink my protein shake after my workout. And she was like, yeah, sweetie, no problem, whatever. I get to the church, she forgot.
Oh. I can't go to church.
I'm sorry, guys. That was me. I got so mad, and in church, in the middle of mass, I was like, Mom, I'm leaving. I need to get my protein shake right now.
So important.
It was so important. And I literally left mass and drove really fast home and drank my protein shake.
And went back to
with 7 minutes to spare of my 90-minute window.
Yeah.
You're like, whoo,
Funny.
that was close.
Whoa, that was close. I didn't lose my gains.
I think that's so funny to me because I relate to it so much. And I want to say this. I still have a protein shake most days after my workout, but not because of the anabolic window. Because of what we were already talking about. Because of how hard it is to hit the protein intake. But I still wait a little bit because what I noticed also, and this happens to a lot of people, is that if you drink a protein shake too soon after your workout, your digestion gets messed up.
Well, it's because your blood is all in your muscles still, yeah?
Right. Your sympathetic nervous system. If you go to your sympathetic nervous system, your blood flow is going to go away from your organs that are in your digestive system, and it's going to go to your skeletal muscle. And it takes some time to switch that back over.
Yeah.
So for most people, it's actually not necessarily beneficial to drink a protein shake too soon after your workout.
Yeah.
But having said that, whenever I get home, I'll give it a little bit of time. And I'm usually not hungry because of the same reason. So I'll drink a protein shake usually like 45 minutes after my workout, only because it just gives me more time. And usually if I drink a protein shake, like I'm hungry pretty soon after a protein shake. It doesn't fill me up very much.
Yeah.
So only as a tool to use my time wisely to hit my protein intake, but no other reason why I do that.
Yeah. I eat right after, like 30 minutes to 45 minutes after my workout.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't had a protein shake in 2 years.
You've told me that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yep.
I sometimes put protein in my oatmeal
Yeah.
just to make it taste better.
I like Legion.
I haven't tried it.
It's really good. Yeah, it's natural, no fake stuff, no blends, no proprietary blend stuff.
Probably doesn't taste like anything.
Yeah.
It's like cardboard.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what's up, man. That's when you know it's good.
Yep.
Tastes like bird food. You're on
Yep.
the right track.
There you go.
Oh, I got another story about protein myths, how it messes up your kidneys.
Oh, I was going to bring that up, man. Yep.
So
I don't know how much you guys know about this, but I don't know anything, but I've heard of it.
I swear what I'm about to tell you guys is 100% true. I don't lie. The only question that I asked in school, because I went to school for nutrition, the only question that I asked was that one of protein. Because the teacher was discussing that she went at us like the bodybuilders of the class.
God.
So let me give you some context. So when I went to school for nutrition, it was basically all women in the class and 4 dudes.
It's not a bad thing.
All four of us were trainers. All 4 of us. We all worked out all the time. Every single class that I had a dude, he was a
And
trainer
the girls
or he
didn't?
worked out. I mean, yeah, girls worked out, but like it wasn't. But the nutrition major is mostly women.
Yeah.
Same
And
thing
so-
for PTA.
Oh, yeah?
Actually, PTA used to be WPTA. WPTA, so like
Oh, yeah.
the association. It used to be women's because it started in I think one of the world wars. I forget.
Okay.
Physical therapy profession.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was women going to, So
Yeah.
there's a lot of women in that.
So the teacher was discussing. She just went at us like we didn't. She was like, "Oh, and by the way, you bodybuilders that are eating 0.8 to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, you guys are all gonna mess up your kidneys." And me being me, I raised my hand, and I'm like, "There's actual evidence that suggests that that's not true. That you can actually eat that amount of protein if you don't have any kind of problems with your kidneys already." And she's like, "I read 50 articles a week, so I pretty much read them all, and that is not true." I'm like, "Oh, I mean, which ones have you read?" And she like cited all these studies. Obviously, I'm a college student. I hadn't read 50 articles at that point in my life, not from PubMed and not from these journals and stuff like that. So she made me feel like crap, basically. And the whole class kind of like laughed. From that moment on, I never asked a question in school. From that moment on, I got turned off from nutrition because this lady was saying that all of us need 0.4 to 0.6 grams of protein. All of us. Doesn't matter if you weigh 200 pounds. Doesn't matter if you weigh 100. All of us need that amount.
Yeah.
And I was like, but what about athletes? What about bodybuilders? Like, they need more to recover. She was like, nope, they're all messing up their kidneys. Nope. And everybody obviously was believing her because she's she's a doctorate of nutritional science. So what the heck do I know? A little college kid that just got started. Last time I asked a question. From then on, I just went to school. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna pass my tests and erase all this information from my memory because I have no respect for this stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think that happens a lot in curriculums, and I feel very similar with the physical therapy curriculum, and I think that it's because in order for something to, like, for new research to reach a curriculum, it has to be, like, tried and tested for a while before it, like, becomes part of the, like, academic curriculum at a university or at a college or something like that, because there's a lot of things that I just went to physical therapy school, since 2 years ago, and they're still teaching some things that are, like, clearly outdated.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. I think that happens a lot in healthcare.
Still the case, by the way. Like, I'm in college now, and it's
Yeah, I'm sure.
still the case.
I'm sure.
There's a lot of stuff that's
And-
from like 2010.
And when you look at nutrition research, I think it's kind of important to talk about this. That first of all, it's very difficult to do accurate nutrition research. Because in order for you to do accurate nutrition research, you would need to get a group of people, put them in a lab, keep them in a lab, control all variables of what they're consuming, and that just, first of all, the funds for that would be crazy, and it just does not happen. So usually what nutrition research entails is survey and observational research. So it's asking people what they're eating and then taking health markers.
And they could lie.
And also the people that you're asking are not people that are eating well. So if you're doing a research about protein, and about red meat, then red meat gets categorized under burgers are red meat, bacon, bacon's not red meat, but burgers, all of this highly processed foods are considered red meat. So then now we're not separating what is the source. So to your point about the kidneys, I could say that the only people that were eating 0.8 to 2 grams of protein during that time were bodybuilders that probably were doing a lot of other stuff that could have messed up their kidneys. Right. So maybe that research was showing that their kidneys were being messed up, but how do you know it was the protein? Yeah. How do you know it was the protein intake and not everything else that this field of bodybuilding, is very extreme with?
Right.
Supplements,
And we know what supplements we're talking about.
Yes. Yeah. So all of those things, PEDs, are going to mess up your kidneys a lot more, especially if they're orally taken. And during that time, there were a lot of things that were coming out, prohormones, which are just steroids, that were oral and consumed, and absolutely, that would make way more sense than your protein intake affecting your kidneys. So understanding how to read research, I think,
it's
is
the
really
old
important.
age debate of correlation versus causation.
Exactly.
It's where most people get most of their nutrition information messed up, I think. And then you get people and then you get stuff like Game Changers, which capitalizes on it.
Yeah. Netflix is not a research source. A documentary is not a research source. Sorry to tell you guys.
It's a propaganda.
To burst that bubble,
It's a
but-
propaganda.
Yeah.
Well, then should we talk about that? The fad diets?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to talk about supplementation real quick. We're going to touch on this really quickly. The only supplements that I ever suggest my clients to take is creatine. And if they're having a really hard time reaching their protein intake, I will tell them to buy some protein. That's it.
Agreed.
No BCAAs,
No.
no collagen, none of that stuff. And by the way, creatine monohydrate.
Mm-hmm.
Let's touch on that then, because I'm pretty sure people, now that you said that, I'm pretty sure people are going to be like, what? Really? Why not BCAAs? Why not collagen? Especially for women. Women are notorious for buying collagen
Products. Yeah.
So, like, why not BCAAs? Well, for us, if you're already getting your protein requirement, if you're hitting those 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, you don't need any more BCAAs.
Right.
Why? Because protein is made of BCAAs.
Yeah.
Okay? It's branched chain amino acids.
The building blocks of
Those
a
are the
protein
building blocks
molecule.
of the protein molecule.
Yeah. So 1 gram of protein will have more BCAAs than 1 gram of BCAAs.
Exactly. So that's what BCAAs. And collagen, I mean, when it comes to collagen, like, you can eat foods that contain collagen.
And get nutrients
You know.
from them as well.
Yeah.
And what's funny is one of those is red meat. And people are all avoiding red meat nowadays.
And-
thanks to those documentaries from Netflix.
Yes.
King James will name drop.
And I think that since we just touched on research, we should touch on why some research shows that BCAAs do work. If you have an individual that is under consuming protein and you give them BCAAs, the BCAAs will improve their performance and how they feel and stuff like that because
They're lacking.
you're lacking protein. So, yes, since most people are lacking protein, if you do a observational or research or survey study of people that are under eating protein and you give them BCAAs, they will increase, whatever health markers, performance, whatever. First of all, protein is cheaper than BCAAs. So that's number one reason why you should just go for protein instead of buying your BCAAs. And
It's like a more bioavailable.
more bioavailable. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Exactly. So there you go. And same thing for collagen. So there's research that says that increasing your collagen will give you all these skin benefits, blah, 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 all this stuff. I will argue the same thing. Increasing your protein will do the exact same thing that increasing your protein will if you are somebody that is under eating protein.
Eat more steak.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just eat more steak.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and also to touch on I want to touch a little bit on the red meat, just for like one thing, just to clarify. Like, red meat gets demonized because of what Andre says,
The correlations.
the correlations, but it's not the causations. Because if you are a healthy body weight and you're consuming red meat and you're consuming the right amount of fiber, you're consuming the right amount of water, you're exercising, red meat is not going to cause any problems in your health. Quite the contrary, red meat contains vitamins and minerals that other foods do not contain. Among those is zinc, magnesium, B vitamins like B12, B6. It contains creatine, not as much as the
5
actual
grams,
supplement,
yeah.
but it does contain creatine.
Mm-hmm.
And iron. For women, iron is crucial. Why? Because when they're in their menstrual cycle, they're losing a lot of
blood.
it. So if you actually want your menstrual cycle to feel less painful, get some red meat. Regulate up bring up your iron levels, and you're gonna see that you're gonna feel much better when you go through those little issues that you go through every single month.
Yeah.
And you're gonna feel more energetic, because sometimes they lose a lot of energy. Why? Because you're just losing a lot of vitamins and minerals, especially the iron. So
Yeah.
consume a little bit of red meat when you're going through your menstrual cycle. You're gonna feel much better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all I wanted to say about red meat. It's not as bad as steamed.
Yes.
It's actually really good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets just bunched up with a bunch of processed foods that mess up whatever the articles are saying. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that if you don't, and there will be some people that do have issues with red meat, but if you're not that person, then by all means,
Right.
go for it.
Right.
If anything, there are some people that have autoimmune issues that the one thing that should be having is red meat.
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, him and his daughter have an autoimmune disease. They
Mhm.
both solved that problem by having a literally all meat diet.
Yep.
Not that should be what you're doing. It just worked for them.
But that's for
Yeah.
their case because
Yeah.
of their
Right.
their case.
Because of their autoimmune
their
disease, correct.
autoimmune
Yeah.
disease, yeah.
And also, I think we should say at this point, if you do have an issue like an autoimmune issue or something a little bit more intricate, a coach is not who should be helping you with your nutrition. It should be somebody more qualified to do that, or like a dietitian or a nutritionist or
Right.
somebody that actually, like maybe Jose would be somebody that would be able to help you.
Yeah. By the way, all the things that we're saying is not. You should do it now. Like Andre said, you should hire someone to help you with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're just giving our not opinions, but also like the research of what is shown, and so just informing you guys about
Correct.
this
Exactly.
stuff.
Exactly.
All right. Fad diets. Yeah.
Fad diets.
Let's
Yes.
trigger people.
Yes. All right. What is your favorite fad diet? And so why don't fad diets
Keto.
work? Or let's ask a better question. Why do
Do they-
fad
what
diet
they work? Yeah, I
works?
was gonna
Yes.
say, yeah.
Yes. Why do fat diets work?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's pros, but there's cons. So, why do fad diet work? You adhere. You adhere to it.
Restrictive.
Simple.
Simple.
Usually fad diets take out a whole food group, so they limit you, and you will more likely eat less calories if you're limited into what you can and can't eat.
Right.
So, if, for example, if you
Let's pick one.
keto,
Keto.
Okay.
if you go keto, you can't have carbs. So now
You
you're
just
limited.
eliminated like 55% of your
Right.
daily calories.
Exactly. So it's not because keto's
Magical.
magically burning your body fat, which, by the way, you could absolutely gain body fat if you're eating keto. Absolutely, you could gain body fat. Again, it comes down to caloric balance. So if you're eating more calories than what you're burning, no matter what fat diet you are choosing, it still comes down to, are you eating more or less than what you're burning? Period. That is it. So
Yeah. I want to give that number for people to really see it. So like, if your maintenance is 3,000 calories, and all of a sudden you switch to the keto diet, and you still eat 3,000 calories, you're still maintaining your body weight, even though you eliminated carbs, and you're
Right.
still maintaining.
Yeah.
Now, if you're eating 3,000 calories as your maintenance, and then you do keto, and now you eliminated all the carbs, you're eating the same proteins, the same fats, but you just took out all the carbs. So now you're eating 2,500 calories. Magical thing happens, right? Now all of a sudden you lose body weight and body fat. But it's not because of keto. It's
It's because of
because
the
you're
caloric
eating
deficit.
less. It's because you're eating less calories.
that's it.
Apply the same thing to every other fad diet.
Every
So
single
apply the same thing to the another fat diet, the intermittent fasting.
Same thing. You're
Same
now
thing.
limiting the times where you can eat. If you are only able to eat through 8 hours of your day rather than 12, then that's less calories that you're probably going to be getting in. However, you could still overeat during those 8 hours.
Yep.
So again, same thing. Comes down to the same exact thing.
Paleo, vegan, vegetarian, same thing.
They just all give you some restriction. They give you some restriction of what to do. What is not good about that is that it doesn't teach you about
Why?
and what you should be having.
It doesn't
So
give you the
it's-
tools to control to make it work for you.
Exactly.
It just like it puts a system and a frame onto you, which makes it simplistic, but doesn't make it, I guess, customizable.
And it becomes a diet, which is in the name. And I don't even like the name diet because I want people to create better habits,
Yeah.
create better behaviors when it comes to nutrition. And thinking about it that way makes more sense and is way more sustainable than trying to completely from one day to the other take out a one food group or just limit the amount of time that you can eat from one day to the other. Now, another thing that I want to talk about when you brought up intermittent fasting and also keto, I want to talk about this, is the benefits that people claim that intermittent fasting has. Fasting does have benefits, not if you do it every day. Most of the benefits of fasting, first of all, are whenever you're doing 24 hours or more of fasting. And you can't do that every day because then you would starve.
Not eat.
So intermittent fasting loses those health benefits that people claim fasting has. And now, again, it just becomes, and I like to change the name of it. It's not intermittent fasting. It's time-restricted eating. That's what it is. That's literally what it is. Period.
Yeah. I don't use the word diet anymore with my clients. I just use the word nutrition.
Good.
Because immediately when I say diet, I'm putting them in the same category as everything else. What I'm about to teach them is going to be in the same category as the keto and intermittent fasting. So I just call it nutrition.
It's going to be Jose's diet.
Nutrition.
I want to have Jose's diet.
Yeah, nutrition. So that point of the intermittent fasting that you were saying, Andres, of the benefits, those benefits also have been shown that the people from intermittent fasting claim and keto claim also come from losing body fat and being at a normal body weight, not being overweight. So that's where the magic comes. When you start losing the body fat and you start exercising and you start doing your cardiovascular training and you start sleeping better and you're losing body weight, losing body fat, that's when all the health markers improve. All these health markers that the fasting and the keto diet claims that they do for you can be achieved with a normal, balanced diet as long as you are at a healthy body weight that you should be at, and as long as you are continuing to exercise and improve your cardiovascular system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A little bit more simple than people think it is. Okay.
What are we doing?
Where's fad diets? Oh, okay, so cheat days.
Cheat days, we haven't talked about that.
But before we go there, I think we talked about all this already, the bulking and the cutting and all of that. We did touch on why tracking is so important, but I mean, maybe we could, maybe a little bit more on why, because I think people are really resistant to
they
start
think it's
tracking.
this huge thing.
Yeah.
That it's like such a huge change. And it can be, but it's also a skill.
It's a
you
skill.
learn how to do it better.
And I think also people, like as you were alluding, that you track and all of that, and I think that's important as a coach to understand so that you can better communicate with your clients. Tracking does not have to be forever, and I think we talked about this in an earlier episode about when you should be tracking and when it might be acceptable to just kind of intuitively eat. Now, you should not try to do intuitive eating if you've never tracked before.
I was just thinking that right now.
Whoa!
But you know why I was thinking that? Because I hear these fitness influencers say this. I hate this freaking sentence. Just listen to your body. You know, I just go with my body. I'm just listening to my body. I'm like, no, don't listen to your body, okay? Because your body right now wants an Oreo. So no, don't listen to your body. But the thing is that these fitness influencers have tracked before, and so they understand that they sometimes need more carbohydrates. They understand they sometimes need more protein, more vegetables, because they know how it feels when you're having less, when you're having more. And so if they're low energy, then they'll eat more carbohydrates, or like if they see that they're not recovering from training, then they'll eat a little bit more protein. Like they understand because they track.
Right.
But they're talking to the public.
Right.
And they're talking to the masses, and the masses have never tracked. Most of them have never done it. And so now when you're telling the masses, I just listen to my body. I just listen to my body. And the masses will be like, oh, perfect. I'll listen to my body. I need some alcohol today.
Yeah.
No, like I hate that
Cheesecake
sentence.
Factory.
I hate it.
Yeah. So what Jose is saying, and clarify me if I'm wrong, but in order to intuitively eat, you first need to develop good intuition. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple.
Simple. Yeah.
And how do you do that?
By tracking. It doesn't even have to be by specifically tracking, but you need to understand nutrition. So, and the best way to do that is by tracking.
Yeah.
That's what Nick said earlier. He was like, if you track, you get to learn about food. You get to learn about what each is and what they do and how they help you
and when you need more of what, when and why.
Right.
Or guess what? Go take a nutrition class, and then after that class, you're going to be like, I should probably track. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. So that's why it's so important to track, because you're going to learn, because you're going to set behaviors, because you're going to start realizing things without even speaking to your coach. If you track for a week, you're going to be like, I did not know I was having 6 sodas every day. I did not know that I was having an entire thing of Oreos throughout my entire 3 days, you know?
It kind of gets everything that you do, and it just boom in front of you.
Sets it up in front of
And
you.
you're like, oh, shit, I shouldn't be doing this.
Some people are scared of knowing that reality.
Yeah.
I think that's why
Dude,
suggestive resistance
yes.
tracking. Yes.
Yeah, but that's like, I think that's like way deeper, because people think about that stuff for like anything. People don't want to know the bad stuff that they do.
Right.
They're scared of it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that's good. So yes, I do think that to finish this topic, I do think that everybody should track at some point in their lives. It doesn't have to be a super, super, super long commitment, but
Let's say
you
like
should
a year?
definitely.
6 months.
6 months,
Yeah.
I would say is a good minimum
Yeah.
to track for.
Ideally in a phase of training in which you are eating more of, correct?
Yes, so that you can learn about how nutrients make you feel, where you should be getting your nutrients from, you know, having different options
Yeah.
when you're trying to reach certain intakes of macros and micros. So all of that stuff is going to become way clearer if you track. And then, and only then, can you, and also once you've hit your goals. So if you're like trying to change your body composition, it's going to be a guessing game if you're not tracking. So at the end of the day, if you're trying to build muscle and if you're trying to lose body weight, body fat, and you're not tracking, you may succeed, but it will always be a guessing game. It is like throwing a dart at a dartboard with a blindfold on. You might hit it. Great for you if you do, but odds are you're not.
I also say the better the person's genetics are to build muscle and lose fat, the bigger the target is. So it may just work for you, but it may just be because your genetics are good for that.
Yeah.
If someone that has subpar genetics, that you're going to be in a huge room with what's it called, the
Sound like a echo.
no dude, the thing that you throw the arrow into,
The board.
the target. The
Yeah,
target.
the
The target is like
target.
this
Target,
big as opposed
yeah.
to like this big.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's
Yeah.
so true. Because most of us, when we started training, we were listening to the people with the best genetics.
Mhm.
Because they're the ones that basically the people that are most heard in the fitness industry are the ones with the greatest genetics. Why? Because they look impressive. You want to look like that.
that's their business. right?
That's your hero. That's your goal. But I'm not saying that they had it easy, but they've had it easier
Yeah.
than the people that don't have the best genetics. And so if that person that has the genetics is telling you what to do, when it was like easier for them to achieve that goal than the person that doesn't, you might end up having the wrong information for yourself.
It's
you
also
ever-
easier to market because it's
Yeah.
like you just have to look at them. You don't have
Right.
to listen to them
Right.
speak. They don't have to articulate ideas and thoughts, and
Right.
they just
It's-
kind of show up and take the shirt off.
Look,
Yeah.
this is the
You're sold.
reality of this world. If you're beautiful, you're going to be listened to more.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you're good looking, people are going to listen to you more.
Irrespective of gender,
That's
right?
Huh?
Irrespective of gender.
Irrespective of the gender.
Yep.
Like 100. I'm sorry, this is the reality of the world.
Yeah,
That's
it
how
is.
it works.
I was gonna say something and I forgot, but yeah. I remembered. Have you ever asked a person with huge calves what they do for calf training,
Yes.
and what's usually the answer?
Nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nothing. They do nothing.
exactly. They just.
I've
they
never
just have
trained
them.
calves before.
Yeah.
I just squat.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's so common.
Nothing.
And I've always been trying to grow my calves, so I've asked quite a few people.
Bro, I've done
And, yeah.
protocols of my training that I can barely walk for like 3 days. Like I'm going down the stairs, like I can barely flex my ankle and extend my ankle. Like nothing happens.
Have you ever done calves and then got stuck in traffic on the way home, where you're like your foot is shaking on the brake?
I probably
That
have. I
happens
just
to
don't
me.
remember that. But yeah.
Yeah, that's happened to me a few times.
Do calves and then drive a manual.
Yeah. Uphill in traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would suck. We already talked about being consistent, hitting plateaus.
Or doing cheat days
Yeah.
and holiday
okay.
dinners.
So,
Oh,
definitely.
Good timing because Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas are all coming up.
All coming up. So what should you do? Should you not go to your Thanksgiving dinner with your family?
Stay home eating chicken, broccoli, and rice.
That's exactly what everybody should
Watch
do.
the
Nobody should go
Christmas
to
movie.
a Thanksgiving dinner. So I think that having quality of life is super important.
That's what we're doing this for.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to be happy and content. Having said that, you don't want to use it as an excuse to every single day have whatever you want, obviously. But you also don't want to be neurotic. And I am neurotic. I've been neurotic, especially when I was competing, about how, you were just talking about it, about how much, like I would show up at Thanksgiving with my Tupperware and not eat any of the stuff that was there and just eat what I brought, which was probably chicken, rice, and broccoli. Right? So if you're in a competition.
It's the worst because people are just asking.
Yes.
All the time.
Oh, you should have this, or drink a glass of wine.
It's just
and, like,
one day. Just
one
just
day.
live your life.
So if you're having if you're a bodybuilder and you're having a competition, obviously, like, you might have to do that. However, for 99% of people, I think that the benefits that you're going to get just from being with your family, enjoying your time on one day, just get back to your plan the next day. Enjoy your food. And maybe Jose will track it. He will take his scale to his Thanksgiving dinner.
I do.
But you don't need to
But
do that.
I'll tell you what I do after, though. I'll tell you what I do after. Right, yeah, go ahead.
But you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. Go and just don't track that day. Just don't track that day and get back to, don't get emotional about what you're going to see on the scale the next day. Just get back to your plan. Don't even overcorrect.
But then track next day.
Track the next day, but don't overcorrect. You don't have to now decrease 500 calories from that next day just to make up for what you did before. Just get back to plan. That's
Back in
it.
the saddle.
All right, now I'm going to tell you what I do.
Oh, boy.
Do it.
Disclaimer, this is not something that I recommend for people to do. This is just me. It works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I like doing it. I have no problem with it. I still enjoy my life. I'm a happy person. I'm not lying to you. I really am. This is what I do. I still track when I go to eat whatever I want to eat. Let's say at Thanksgiving. I still track. The next day, I subtract those calories from what I overate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just do the math.
Yeah.
And the
Checks
next
out.
day, yeah, so like let's say I'm supposed to be eating 2,000 calories and then I go eat Thanksgiving. I ate 3,500, so that means I ate 1,500 calories more.
Mm-hmm.
I then, those extra 1,500 calories, I then subtracted throughout the next few days. So like not the next day, right? Because like if not the next day, I'll just end up eating 500 calories. But the next few days, I divide that extra 1,500 calories by, let's say, 3 days, and I just take the number off.
Yeah.
So I end up eating less,
you end up
but I
eating
end
this.
up like
Averaging it out.
Averaging out. So what happens to me psychologically is like usually these things happen during the weekend. So what I do is I always do my body weight check-in every week on Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
So Thursday and Friday I eat normal. Saturday and Sunday I stuff myself because I go out to eat with my girlfriend. I go out to eat with friends, family. Usually get things that we enjoy on the weekend. And then I'm so stuffed by Sunday that I don't want to eat that much anymore. And then the last 3 days before my check-in, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm eating like 1,600 calories.
Mm-hmm.
When my maintenance is 2,500, something
Yeah.
like that.
Right. So you
So-
take your average of your week. So over the
Right.
week, you're still in maintenance.
Right,
Right.
right.
So I want to clarify for people at home because that makes absolute logical sense on paper. I think a lot of people would get really emotionally attached if they start tracking that way, like whether you're trying to like, okay, what did I eat yesterday and subtract and subtract and subtract or add or subtract. So what I recommend for most people is what I said. Like if you're going to go to Thanksgiving, just go to Thanksgiving. And if you're going to go and eat whatever you're going to eat in Halloween, just eat whatever you're going to eat and get back to plan. If you are a person that has been tracking for a while, understands nutrition, does not get emotional about, and when I say emotional, is just like when you get upset about what you see on the scale or if something stresses you out, if you're not meeting it and stuff like that. If you're somebody that can control that, then what Jose is doing can work for you. And it makes a lot of sense. But again, Jose is somebody that went to school for nutrition, has been a
tracking
coach
for
I've
a
been
while.
tracking for over 10 years.
over 10 years, trains has probably trained hundreds, if not thousands, of clients over his, span of his career. Definitely hundreds. So he understands what he's doing and knows what he's doing and can do that type of stuff. But for most people, just making it simpler is going to be better psychologically.
Yeah. This is why since I said a disclaimer.
Yes, of course.
I not recommend people to do this. It just works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We already talked about processed foods, all that, nourishment. Okay. How does everything? Okay. Yeah. So, and actually, before we talk about this one, and I'm right here, by the way. Before we talk about that one, I want to talk about cardio. Because most people, when they talk about body composition and losing weight, they're
gonna hop on the treadmill.
They're gonna hop on the treadmill, right? Which is definitely a tool. Manual calorie burn can definitely be a tool for weight loss. But where does it come in? Like, how important is cardio for weight loss, and how much of it should you be doing, if any at all? And another question that I want answered: can you lose weight without doing cardio?
I'll give you my own anecdotal evidence. The leanest I've ever been, I never done cardio.
Mm-hmm.
The time that I got the leanest, I never did cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
I've seen studies before that the amount of calories that you burn during cardio in the treadmill or whatever it is, you proportionally don't lose them through your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is just a measurement of movement that you do subconsciously. Like when you're sitting down, you're fidgeting your leg, that's wasting calories, and you do that throughout the day with more or less steps. That's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Every time, let's say you lost 200 calories in cardio, or you're going to move 200 calories less subconsciously.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff like that too.
Plus, the treadmill doesn't know who you are.
Yeah, that's another thing. And I've seen some people, when I used to work at LA Fitness, I would see some people that would like especially, I'm not even going to say, I would see some people that would put their weight on the treadmill to be like 300 pounds. So the treadmill would read that they're burning more calories. Because if you do that, if you put what you weigh, because some treadmills will ask you that, like how much do you weigh,
To try to make them
you will
feel
burn
better.
more calories.
Right.
So they were just taking a picture to post it on social
Oh
media.
my God, dude.
That they burned 1,500 calories in an hour. Which, by the way, you're not burning 1,500 calories in an hour.
No.
No, it's not gonna happen.
We have to understand that these machines are theoretical. So, like, theoretically, if you ran at 6 miles an hour for 30 minutes, you will burn, let's say, 600 calories. But that's theoretical. That's not what will happen in your actual biology, because your actual biology might be what we were discussing before. You might be a Prius. And so you might be running at 6 miles an hour for 30 minutes. The machine says you burn 600 calories, but in reality, you probably burn 200.
The machine thinks you're a Mustang.
Because you're very, very efficient at not burning calories.
Right. And also, using cardio as a tool for weight loss, and I want to talk about the benefits of cardio after we're finished with this topic, but using cardio as a tool for weight loss is a losing game, because the more cardio you do, the more efficient you become at doing whatever activity you choose, because if you switch between cardio activities, it can differ. But let's say the treadmill. So the more you use the treadmill, the more efficient you become at running in the treadmill, okay, or a bike or whatever, insert whatever piece of cardio equipment. So if you go in, if you've never done, let's say, the assault bike, because we use the assault bike a lot. If you've never used the assault bike and you go on it for 5 minutes, let's say you burn, 30 calories in those 5 minutes. The next time that you go on that assault bike, you might burn 29 and a half in those 5 minutes, because your body,
Becomes
which is a
efficient.
good thing. This is why exercise works. It becomes more efficient at doing what you're doing. Your body doesn't want to spend more energy doing the things that you're doing often. It wants to find ways of doing those things without spending so much energy doing it. So the more cardio you do, if you're trying to lose weight, or the more weight you lose, the more cardio you will have to do. So you're going to have to increase what you're doing as you're losing weight. So then it gets to a point where, like, if that's the tool that you're using for weight loss, you're going to have to be doing 3 hours of cardio a day if you want to continue losing weight. And I don't know about you, but I don't have time to do 3 hours of cardio
Me
a
neither.
day.
So now people are probably asking this question. So then why did it work for me when I did it? And the answer to that is because you weren't efficient in the beginning. I'll give you the example. Swimming. I suck at swimming. So like when I swim, I've been starting to do that like here and there. So like get some conditioning in, because like if I'm already good at running and I'm really good at the bike, I gotta try something different
Novel.
to like, and something novel, something new, so that I can burn more calories or just like learn a new skill and just become better at something else. Like I like to try different things, so like
It's
I
also less
don't bore
boring.
myself.
Yeah.
It gets boring doing the same thing over and over. So the first time that I swam, I did 8 laps, which for the swimmers that are probably listening, that will ever listen to this podcast, they're laughing at me right now. Like 8 laps is
the warm-up.
is not even their warm up. No, my dude. Like their warm up is a good like 20.
Yeah,
Laps.
I used to swim
20 laps or
and
more.
I used to have like an hour of a warm up, probably
Right.
because I used to spend like 3 hours in the pool per day. So yeah,
Yeah.
and I probably, if I got in the pool right now, I'd die
Yeah.
in 2 laps.
So 8 laps, it took me about 12 minutes. I could not swim one more lap. My heart rate was so high. My arms were falling off. Like I got off and I had the biggest pump. I was walking like if I was like jacked. I'm not, but you know, crazy stuff. Okay. Month into swimming, now I can swim a good 30 minutes, no problem. But that's because my body's getting more efficient at doing it, and it's getting more efficient at not burning as much calories.
Have you lost a ton of weight?
No,
There you go.
I've improved my conditioning. When I go play basketball, I feel better. I can play longer games, and I can play for a longer period of time, but I haven't lost any body fat
Yeah. So,
because I'm in my maintenance calories.
right. So, some of those benefits is why you should be doing cardio, not because you should want to be burning calories, but because, and we've talked about this in another episode again, but having a more robust cardiovascular system, having a heart that has more efficiency to get more blood per stroke, more volume of blood per stroke to your body, distribute nutrients, distribute oxygen, having your lungs have more capacity to distribute oxygen, to your blood. Those are the benefits that cardiovascular training should give you. Cardiovascular training means heart and vessels, not calories. And another reason why you shouldn't use cardio as a tool for weight loss is because it's muscle sparing. Or actually, no, it's the
Degenerating.
other way. Right. So
Degenerates.
if you're somebody that has a decent amount of muscle and you want to get into a cardio modality, like let's say you want to run a marathon, and you start doing a bunch of cardio, muscle is very expensive, and it's hard for your body to want to keep a lot of muscle mass if it's trying to be
As efficient as possible.
So it will try to get rid of some of that muscle because muscle takes calories. If you have 200 pounds of muscle, it takes more calories to run a mile than if you have 150 pounds of muscle. 200 pounds of muscle would be a huge amount, by the way, but I just used
That's
easy
insane.
numbers.
Yeah, an easy example.
So yeah, you don't want to use that as a sole tool for weight loss, because then you're also gonna, lose other things that you don't want to lose. Yeah.
And that's why clients would, when we used to work at F45, it was like that. These people were, F45 workouts are tough. Like, and some of them were doing 2 times a week, 2 times a day, for 6 days a week. They had a great cardiovascular system. Like the classes helped them get to that level, but they were not losing any weight. You would see people that were overweight, but they were in really, really good shape. And it was funny because sometimes bodybuilders will show up to the class, just jacked dudes, and we'll pair them with like a normal looking person, and that person would just beat the crap out of them in the class, and the bodybuilder or the bikini model will just about to throw up within the first round, and they'll actually leave the class and never come back.
Embarrassed.
Embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. How should somebody train in the gym if they want to lose weight?
As opposed to if they want to build muscle. We can make that
Yeah, but I mean,
distinction, I guess.
yeah, as opposed to building muscle, but
Is that
I
even
think
a-
the answer is kind of the same.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
No difference.
I think that if you want to lose weight, again, to what we were talking about, you don't want to lose muscle. You want to lose body fat. So the best way,
Yeah, most likely.
right?
Depending if you're not, unless you're like an athlete that has
Exactly.
to
Unless
make
sometimes
weight or
you,
something.
yeah, sometimes if anything, I know that there's a certain bodybuilder, Ben Pakulski, that he wanted to lose muscle because he was so big,
Right.
and he wanted to start getting into cardiovascular
Oh, I see.
activity.
Yeah.
So
Which-
yeah,
Which is, so you guys know the reason why he wanted to do that is because being so big is actually not healthy either.
mm-hmm.
You know, like if you weigh a lot, whether it's with a lot of body fat or with a lot of muscle, that's a lot of work that your heart has to do to pump blood to all that muscle or around all that body fat.
That's why bodybuilders keep
So-
dying in their 50s.
Right. So the bodybuilders just, the hearts are working so hard to maintain that kind of muscle mass. So Ben Pakulski was like, I'm trying to be healthier. So I want to get rid of a lot of muscle mass so that I can live a longer life.
He's still huge, by the way.
He's still huge, yeah, but you should see his
How he was
pictures
before.
when he was before.
Monster.
Yeah. So a lot of these retired bodybuilders, that's what they do now. Like they shrink up a little bit. They still look better than 99% of the population,
Right.
but they want to live a healthier life because
Yeah.
they know getting that big cost
Right.
comes at a cost.
So to circle back around, cardio does not have to be part of a weight loss program. It can be, but whenever I introduce cardio, it's more so because of those benefits that we were talking about of cardiovascular health, rather than just increasing the calorie burn that you're doing. So I want to make sure that you're having, all of those health markers be decent
Yeah.
while we're losing weight.
So a question: why do you think people go to that first?
To
It's like
cardio.
as soon as people want to lose weight, what's the first thing they do? Put on their shoes and go out to run.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why?
I think it's just because it's the norm. I think also for a very long time the suggested by the medical community, the suggested amount of activity is 30 minutes of rigorous cardiovascular activity. So I think that it's just been such a norm and so broadly broadcasted.
That's specifically, I think that's based off of, I think it's late 80s, early
Yeah.
90s advice.
It's been for a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It needs to be updated. But I think it has part to do with that. I think it also has part to do with when you look at endurance athletes, they're
Skinny.
generally skinny, and people, want to do that.
It's also overly
Looks that way.
simplistic from a math standpoint. It's like, oh, well, if I can't eat more calories, let me try to lose more calories.
And I think people think that sweating is also
Well,
something.
yeah,
that-
that's another thing
Well, yeah,
too, because
if you sweat,
it
you're gonna
decreases
weigh
your body
less.
weight. That's how I
Yeah.
made weight, dude.
It goes back to the what happens,
The
falling in love
fluctuations.
with the scale.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is if you lose a lot of water weight, which comes with sweat, when you weigh yourself the next morning or after your workout, you weigh less, and you're like, it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go get a burger so
Yep.
I can.
Yep.
Anecdotal piece of
Yeah,
evidence here on Saturday, about was it 6 days ago or 5 days ago, I had a powerlifting competition. I was supposed to weigh in at 181.8 pounds, and the morning before that, on Friday, I weighed in 184.4. So that night I stopped eating at like 3 p.m., 4 p.m., something like that. Hit the sauna that night before. I lost 6 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and I made weight.
Yeah.
And then I cramped because I didn't have enough electrolytes anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can lose weight. It makes you lose weight, but your body composition is not going
Right.
to change.
And then you drink a couple of glasses of water, and then you just
Yeah, that's it.
Get back.
Yep.
get right back up. All right, so yeah, that's how you should be training. If you want to lose weight, you should be training. And another reason why you should be training for strength, and I don't think we clarified that, but what I meant is you should be training for strength if you want to lose weight. You should not necessarily cardio. So getting stronger while you're losing weight
And building muscle.
and and trying to build muscle will at the very least maintain or send a signal to hold on to muscle, and then the body will prioritize burning body fat as a source of energy when you're in a caloric deficit. If you're sending that signal of like, hey, I still need to lift heavy. I don't want you to get rid of this muscle that I so direly need because of the activities that I'm doing. So if you're training for strength while you're in a caloric deficit, your body will try to choose body fat over muscle as an energy source to make up for that deficit. So that's why you should be training for strength as you're losing, or building muscle as you're
Losing body
losing
fat.
weight. And obviously, if you want to build muscle, you should do the same. Yeah,
That's it.
That touches on everything.
that's pretty much it.
Alrighty. Well,
This one was extensive.
yeah.
Yeah.
We ran it for almost 2 hours here, guys. This
Yeah.
is huge. But this is a huge topic, anyways.
Yeah,
like nutrition
absolutely.
is a very controversial, it's just massive.
Yeah, I think
And there's
everybody.
a lot of contradiction anywhere. So
Yeah,
not
I think a lot of
surprised.
people are gonna like
Benefit from this a lot. Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll be coming back for more in upcoming weeks. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave your reviews for us, whatever you guys think is good for us to know, and enjoy the rest of your day.